Do you love everything about yourself and your body? You probably heard that you should love yourself and accept yourself, but how do you actually do that in, practical steps? This is what I'm asking Claudia about, who is a coach who helps women to uncover their magical unicorn. So get a glass of water, get your notebook, and get ready to listen and learn. Hello, everyone. And today we're talking to Claudia, who is going to tell us a little bit more about how we can love ourselves and how we can show who we really are, because we've talked before about why it's important to do this. So now we're going to talk about how we actually do this, like practical steps. So I'm looking very much forward to hear what you have to say about that, Claudia. So tell us about you and what you do.
Hi, Celeste. How are you?
I'm great.
Thank you so much for inviting me on your episode. I'm really thrilled and honored to be here. Just want to let you know this week I actually took the whole week off because on Thursday it was my son's birthday, and I said, heck, I'm just going to take the whole week off to celebrate me.
Amazing.
And I
Amazing.
think that's like the key. One of the key to loving yourself is finding all the points, all the little things to celebrate ourselves. And that's one part of it, right? Like a lot of times when we talk about loving ourselves, we do the pampering, we do the reading books, the going outside, but it's also celebrating ourselves internally. And we will definitely be talking about more of that because it goes I want to cover a little bit more in depth about that. But a little bit about myself, I call myself the unicorn unveiler.
Mhm.
I unveil people's unicorns. I believe that everyone has a magical unicorn inside. We are actually born a unicorn, but we're just happen to born in a cow society. I call it a cow
Ah,
society.
okay.
Yes,
Yes.
like nothing against cows, but it's just a metaphor that I came up with because there are a lot of times that who we associate with, the people that are surrounding us, even though they love us because of their limiting beliefs, they impose those limiting beliefs on us. And so we don't actually get to know our full potential because a lot of times we want to do something and other people will be like, no, don't do that. That's scary. That's risky. You shouldn't be doing that. And I think that we just have so much potential, but because we use all those stories against ourselves, so we don't actually get to tap into those. So, and that's what I do. I actually guide people through to find out who they are, who they really are, so that they can love themselves and to show who they are. And yeah,
Yes.
that's a little bit about me.
Yes. Amazing. Yes. So, yeah, tell us more about these steps. How do you love yourself more? Because, like you say, there's a lot of self-care you can do, like massages and getting your face done or whatever is your thing, reading books, but any other ways, like, in your mindset, how do you come to love your body? Because one thing is to treat it good, but another thing is to actually love it, because you can treat it good without really loving it.
Yeah, so in terms of loving ourselves, there are actually the first step is to get to know ourselves. And what I mean by that is a lot of times, as I said, we kind of, if let's say I ask you this question, like Celeste, who are you? Tell me a little bit about yourself. When I say these to other people, a lot of times they will tell me what the names are, and then they'll tell me their titles, like, right, like from work, from home. Like for me, also a full-time radiation therapist on top of being a life coach. And then I also have a 5-year-old son, right? So I'm a mom, and then I have a husband, so I'm a wife, right? So we define ourselves based on these titles.
From
But
the
there are a
outside,
lot,
actually, like you just
yes.
explained. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like a lot of external titles. But when I talk about getting to know who we are, I'm actually talking about what kind of obstacles we actually have to overcome. I'll tell you this one moment that was the epiphany for myself. It was when I actually heard Teal Swan's speech. She was talking about how before we are born, we actually decide before we were born, what lesson we want to learn. And then we look onto this earth and decide on, okay, this life, if I come into this life, I would have chosen my parents, I would have chosen my life. And all those things will come together to create kind of like an obstacle for us so that we can overcome that obstacle, so that we can become the higher self. So for me, one of the things that I had to overcome was overcoming other people's objections. So a lot of
Okay.
times, yeah. So for a lot of times, like I was born in a family who, like, my parents love me so much, and they're like, okay, this is the path that you have to work on. You have to study hard, right? You
Mm-hmm.
get your degree, you
Mm-hmm.
find a job, which I'm still working on, right? And then, right, so during that time, I remember one day, I remember just this one day, I was in high school. I couldn't get out of bed. And my mom's like, she sat down beside me and she's like, I understand this, but this is how life is. You study hard, you get a
Mm-hmm.
job, and you work, and even though you don't want to, this is how life is. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, this can't be it, right? There must be
Mm-hmm.
more. Then what's my purpose of life if that's all that I'm doing, right? And then while I was working, I was trying like different things, like different businesses, and I would propose my ideas to my mom, and she's like, no, you shouldn't do that. No, you shouldn't do that. And for the longest time, I was like, if only my mom would support me more, or if she would have like said yes to me going ahead with these things, then I would be so much further. And after I listened to Teal Swan's speech, I was like, that is what it was, like, because of all these external things that are trying to stop me. But I actually have to overcome that. I have to overcome me staying small. I have to put myself out there, have my voice be heard, right? I actually have to step outside, even though when other people are saying no to me, I still have to go forward. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my lesson. And that was the story I've been telling myself. And so for a lot of people, that there may be like, you may not find that you're loved or cared about. And you're like, maybe if other people could love me more, care about me more, right? For
The
other
reason
people,
why I think a lot is trying to find the soulmate, because we want love from outside instead of, or we need love from outside because we don't have it inside.
yeah. So a lot of times it's the validation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if someone loves me for who I really am, instead of me changing the way that I am to get other people to love me. Right. So that's where the people pleasing part happens. And so it's a you be like, knowing who you are is the fact that you know who you are, all the quirks, all the like ugliness, all the meanness, and you still
Mm-hmm.
love who you are. And then you put yourself out there. It doesn't matter what other people say. Like as long as you can love yourself for who you are, and then that's like, that will be your story, right? So it's the first, like, knowing who you are is understanding all the things, like
Mm-hmm.
what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you are um what are the mean things underneath, right? A lot of times we don't like our mean girls.
No.
We hate
No.
our mean girls. We don't want to show them. Like for me, I'm like, for the longest time since I was young, being jealous of other people was the one thing. Being jealous of other people was the
Okay.
one thing. So I was always comparing myself with other people, and I was always so jealous of other people, right? And I would
Mm-hmm.
talk down, like if I talk about other people in my mind, I don't say it out loud, but in my mind, I'm like, why can they do something like this? It's like, oh, because they have the support, they have the opportunity, they have other people helping them. And then I'll be like, well, I don't have that. So like all these mean things that I say is that, oh, well, of course they can, because look how lucky they are, or like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and all these mean things, like I have to accept all of those. Even this morning, I'm like, I'm so disappointed in myself because this week I actually gave myself a week off. I'm like, I
Oh
haven't
my
done
God.
anything.
Yeah.
Right. It's like I'm so disappointed in myself. And I was so upset. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to come on here, do the talk, and I'm so disappointed in myself. Right. So like knowing
Yeah.
that all these things are coming up. So getting to know yourself is to
Mm.
notice
Be
all these,
aware when they come up and say,
being aware of it.
"Oh,
Now,
mm,
what does it mean to love yourself? Loving yourself means you love all of it. Say it's
mm,
okay and you love all of it. Say, I'm jealous right now because I have all these thoughts. I'm comparing to other people. I love myself anyways. Right.
mhm,
That's the main, like that's the secret ingredient is to know that you are whole and worthy. It doesn't matter what you're thinking. It doesn't matter what you did. It doesn't matter what you didn't do. You
mhm,
are perfect where you are. And say, you know what? It's just my brain giving me these crazy ideas, giving me these crazy thoughts, but I'm still loving myself where I am.
exactly. Yeah, totally agree. Do you have
Mm.
like an exercise or something that you do with people when you are
So the
working on that?
yeah, yeah. So the very first thing is what we call the thought download. It's basically write down in the journal, like give yourself 5 minutes, 5, 10 minutes to write whatever you want down. So for example, if let's say this morning, if I feel really down, I don't know what exactly it is. A lot of people sometimes they don't actually are aware of what exactly it is. They just know that they have a feeling. Right.
Mm,
It's like, I'm really down right now. I'm like, normally I'm happy, but right now I'm very down. And just sit down and write for 5, 10 minutes what exactly is going on. And as you keep writing, don't edit yourself. Just let the words flow out of you. 5 minutes. If you want to write some more, give yourself 15 minutes. Just write everything down.
mm,
And then once everything is out, then just say, hey, these are just my thoughts. It doesn't mean anything about me. And then you read through it as like a third person and you become curious to say, hey, why did I say that? Right? It's like
yeah.
a lot of times we're like reading is like, oh my gosh, why did I write that? How mean can I be? Right? Like it's
Oh
all these
yeah.
judgments that come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and a lot of times, like the awareness exercise, it will come a little bit quicker as you keep doing this exercise. It doesn't just happen, right? Because I'm like turning 42 this year. So I have 40 years of like practicing all these critical negative thoughts, right? So I can't just change them. I have to be aware of them, and the
Mhm.
awareness comes as you start doing this.
So when do you do this exercise? Like every time you're triggered or
You
every time
can
you have a
be
negative thought?
it can be like even
Okay.
if you are having a positive thought, you can even write them down, right? So
Mm,
like because the one reason why we want to know about these thoughts is our feelings are determined by these thoughts. So these thoughts create our feelings. And why we actually want to be aware of these thoughts, just to go back one step, is to actually separate out the facts from our thoughts, our stories.
mhm,
So let's say, for example, this morning when I had that emotion, my son was actually asking me to build a Lego toy for him.
mhm,
But a lot of people would be thinking, oh, it's because my son kept asking me for help and I just want to have a quiet morning, right? And then so
mm,
so I'm like, I get really agitated. But it's not because of my son asking me to do a Lego toy. My son asking me to play Lego toys with him is a fact, right? Because if
mm,
let's say your thought is, oh, I'm so glad that he asked me for help,
mhm,
the feeling that I will have from that thought is going to be like, oh, I'm got connected with him. I'm so happy that he wants me to play with him. Versus,
mhm,
oh, he's asking me for help again. I just want to have a quiet moment to myself, right? So like
mm,
knowing that like the circumstance or the fact is very neutral, right?
Yes.
compared to the story that you're telling about this fact is very important, because then you can tease them out. A lot of times we associate the circumstance or the fact to a feeling because we have all these thoughts that comes within. So that's why the thought exercise kind of helps you kind of pull apart these two things a little bit further, so you can be aware of your thoughts, so you can get to know who you are. Okay. So one of the biggest things that I ask, biggest question that I ask people is, what are you making it mean about yourself? So let's go jump onto like a people pleasing behavior, right? So my son was asking me to do a Lego toy, right? My husband comes in because he knows that I have a interview with you, and he said, babe, why don't you get ready, right? It's just very simple. Like my husband told me, babe, why don't you get ready? But then I was in my energy. I was like, no, I can't. I have to finish this toy with my son, right? Like, right? It's like, I can't. And then my thought is like, if you, okay, this is a real thought. If you want me to, I was thinking it about my husband. If you want me to get ready for my interview, why don't you take care of my son right now so that I can go, right? So
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
well, like he was just asking me to go, right? So then you see like all these little thoughts that you keep coming down, then it kind of distilled to this last sentence. Is like, I wanted my husband to be in it to take care of my son so that I can go take care of other things. But it really is just me feeling like I have to be here with my son to complete what he requests of me. Because if I leave right now, I'm a bad mom, right? What does it mean about me if I say no? If I say no to my son because he requested for me to play Lego with him, if I don't complete it, I'm a bad mom, right? So like if you keep going down all these thoughts, then you'll be like, oh, what does that really mean? I'm making it mean if I stop right now, I'm a bad mom. So being aware of where these thoughts are leading you to and what exactly is the main thought that creates this feeling.
Yeah.
So
The root problem.
the root problem, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, we tend to like blame other people. It's like, oh, you should be doing this, right? Because like part of it is the resentment, right? Because a lot of times, especially for people who are married, or if let's say it's a parent-child relationship with your mom, if let's say they make a request, there's sometimes a lot of resentment that comes with it. It's the thought of, I have to do something that I don't want to, right? That
To make someone else happy.
To make someone else happy, but then you feel guilty, right? The resentment and the guilt kind of goes hand in hand, because it's like, oh, then I feel really bad, and I'm a bad daughter, I'm a bad wife because I'm not completing this task. So the resentment and then the guilt that comes with the people pleasing.
Yes.
And that's how you show up, right? So that's the knowing yourself, loving yourself, and how you show up, because showing up takes a lot of courage, right?
So it's about having now you say courage to say no when it's right, and still love yourself and not feel ashamed or feel like you should do something, or feel like you disappointed someone.
Having the courage, it really distilled down to you feeling guilty. If you say no, like, can you imagine, like, if you say no to your mom making a request, she's gonna be mad at you, like, it's going to happen, but you're going to say no anyways, right? Knowing that when you say no and they are having a reaction, it's because they have a thought about it. So because when you have an emotion, you have a thought about it, It's the same thing. When other people have a reaction, it's because they have a thought about it. Know
Mm-hmm.
that they are capable of dealing with their own emotions, and you have to take care of your own, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
where the boundary sets in. You're coming from love. You're not coming from, oh, I'm not going to, if you do this, I'm going to do this. No, knowing that they may still be reacting negatively, and you can deal with their negative emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it takes a lot of courage. For a lot of us, we just want other people to love us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh my gosh, my mom is mad at me. I have to do this to please her, right?
Yeah,
A lot of
especially women. I feel like, especially young women. That's I've been there too. Still am sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, right. So knowing that a lot of times, if let's say, um, I'm not sure if you have ever felt this way before, but let's say you have already made a an arrangement. Like let's say you have an appointment or a fun time with your spouse or your friend, right? You have this appointment made for you. And then someone made a request, like your mom asked you to, can you do this for me at pretty much around the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then your mind goes, oh my gosh, can I please my mom and my friend at the same time? How can I rearrange my life so that I can do this for my mom and spend time with my friend, right? That's the people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
So can we say, but like, and the thing is, when that happens, you are very overwhelmed, right? Because you're like, can I make it in time? Can I please my mom and do this thing for
Mm-hmm.
her,
Without
right?
disappointing
And
anyone,
without
because you already
disappointing
made a deal.
anyone,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, can you learn a way to say, hey mom, I already made this appointment. I cannot do it today. Can I do it on another day?
Mm.
Or is there something else that we can think of so that someone else can help you? Or is it really that urgent? Right. So
Mm-hmm.
so being able to come on top and say, hey, this is what I have planned. I have this. Or you can say, I can like, can I do this thing for my mom and tell my friend, I'm very sorry, I cannot do this, right? So understanding that this is in your power to
Mm-hmm.
say, hey, can I, what is it that I can do for me without getting overwhelmed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of time the overwhelm comes, I have to do this and that, and there's like a lot of emergency requests that comes in, and I have to please everybody, right? So
Yes. Yeah.
knowing that part, and someone is going to get mad, right? The courage comes
Yeah.
because you know that someone is going to get mad, but you're in your own power means that you know that whatever that they say or do or react, you're still going to hold your own and
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm okay because that's the feeling and that's the thought. And I
Mm.
cannot do, I cannot split myself up. You have to love yourself, right? Saying, and you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I have disappointed my mom and I can't do anything about it, or I have done my best, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the loving yourself, eh, right? Because if you come down to it, what does it mean about yourself when you say no? It's either you're a bad daughter, bad mom, bad friend,
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
wife, right? So
Definitely.
it
Yeah.
all comes down to it. And can you love yourself during that moment?
Mm-hmm.
Because other people are not going to love you. We depend on other people to love us. But can we love ourselves, learning to love ourselves at that moment so that we can have our own back? We don't have to please anyone at that point.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Really great. Really great. I love everything you're saying. So yeah. Yeah. I usually say, like, if your friend came to you and said, I have this situation that you're in, what would you tell your friend, and what would you advise them to do? Because usually that's a lot more self-caring than you
Mm,
are with yourself, because like you say, you can't do everything, but you think you can. So what would your friend say if she came and asked you, hey, I have this problem. My mother is asking me to do this, but I have this appointment. What should I do?
Mhm. And
And
you know what, Celeste? It's not so much as the doing, right? At the end, the doing doesn't matter. It's the feeling that matters, right?
mm-hmm,
Because if let's say a friend comes to you and say, oh, I am so, like, I'm so frustrated, I have this appointment and my mom asked me for it, I'm so frustrated because I feel like I'm being pulled, right? I
mm-hmm,
feel guilty, I have to do something. So the guilt, the frustration, but then it's really, when you it goes deep down, it's, I am a bad daughter if I say no to my mom, right? Because the meaning is, if I say no to my mom, I have disappointed her.
mm-hmm,
And it's the guilt that comes with it.
mm-hmm,
Can we love ourselves, right? It's the,
mm-hmm,
I still love you. I still love you as who you are, even when you say no to me, right?
mm-hmm,
I still love myself when I say, when I have disappointed other people. It's that guilt. Can we love ourselves? Do we have to do more to prove ourselves to be a good daughter? Right? So knowing that feeling and saying, hey, if I love you, no matter what you do, what would you like? Like, how would you want to act, right? So it's that internal, oh, I feel like I am not going to be loved if I say no to my mom. I'm not going to be loved by my friend if I cancel my previous appointment with my friend, right?
mm-hmm,
That is the main thing, and getting to the root of it. Say, hey, I see this of you. And I know how frustrated you are right now. I know how guilty you feel right now. And when you can get down to that point, and then it'll be easier to change the action or to decide on the action, because the love part is where we want to pull ourselves to different directions. Because when we feel like, if I don't do something and other people are not going to love us,
mm-hmm,
then that's where we try to split ourselves. So getting to the love is like, the more um the action that we actually have to do is, can I love myself when I say no
mm-hmm.
to other people? And a lot of
So
people cannot say that, right? A lot of people
yeah.
is like, no, I can't love myself because I feel like I failed someone.
Mm. So it's usually I think like it's a lot about forgiveness, for forgiving yourself
Mm.
also for like we talked about in the beginning, like for things you have done, the mean girl, the all the other things. So forgiving yourself is
Yeah.
also a part of it, right?
Forgiveness, compassion. We
Mm,
have to be more compassionate with ourselves. A lot of times it's the, we are the harshest critic of ourselves.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So oh, so a lot of times, if let's say, for maybe people like you, like people who are entrepreneurs, or even just people who are very go-getters, they actually don't need an accountability buddy.
Mm.
They need a love buddy to give us love. And when I was telling
Oh
this to
yes.
other people, we actually need a permission buddy. We need to
Yeah. Okay.
have a permission buddy to say, hey, it's okay for you to say no to your mom. It's okay for
Mm,
you to just go out and have fun. It's okay for you to, to just take some time for yourself, right? The
mm-hmm.
permission buddy, because we feel so guilty. As I told you like earlier, like I feel so guilty and disappointed in myself for not having done something this week, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
of this part, the critical part. So we don't need someone to keep saying, hey, have you done the thing yet? Have you done the thing yet? Because in the back of my mind, I probably beat myself up over it like 100%, like more
Like
than,
not getting the A or highest score or best whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like that love. We need someone to show us love. And sometimes that is like the ideal case to have someone to do that for you, but really the person who needs to give ourselves that permission and that love is ourselves, because
Mm,
at the end of the day, when we can give ourselves that love, when we can be more compassionate with ourselves, be more patient with ourselves, right? Because a lot of times we're like, oh, I should have been there right now. I should have done this already, right? Be patient
mm,
with ourselves of where we are. And then we'll find that we can have more ambition in life, going after what we want, because it's scary to
mhm,
be out there. And also, we can give more compassion to other people, have more patience with other people when they are not doing something that we expect of them.
mm. Nice. Yes, love it. Love it. Um, well, yeah, I think you made some very good points. I've written some of it down, so we'll just at the end, just take a short like recap. What have we been through and things like that. So, but is there anything else like you want to share with us, or another way to kind of get that feeling of self love, because it can be, it's really not tangible. You can,
Yes.
it's not like you can say go and journal, because journal doesn't give you the feeling unless you allow yourself to feel it and take it in.
Yeah. So journal sometimes I the one thing that I find is fine if you can, if you have the ability to find a good coach. Find some,
Mm,
because a coach's position, to be a good coach, you have to know your clients, to know who they are, to know where they are coming from. So a good coach will hold that space for you when you are down, so that you can tell them about what you're actually feeling at that moment.
mhm,
And they can love on you when you need to.
mhm,
And when they know that you can be pushed, they will push you s- against like the discomfort, right? So it's like they know when to push you, they know when to hold you back, they know when to like shower you with love and celebrate you. A lot of times, especially even just writing in journals, or I also find that I don't usually work through my own thoughts until I talk about it with someone. It could be my own coach, it could be my husband. Like this morning, my husband is like, what exactly are you feeling? I couldn't say it to him, but I know it, right? Because
mm.
once I say it, it kind of like gives you that permission, or gives me that permission. It's like, oh, I'm gonna cry right now because
Yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
disappointed in
Yeah.
myself. It's
Yeah.
it's being allowed to be me in front of other people, and that's
Mhm,
that barrier that sometimes we don't have. So a coach or a great friend who actually understands is like
mm,
being able to show them what your real feelings are, and they don't judge you
mm,
for your own feelings. And that is the key to actually go ahead with like a lot of the things, right? Because it's that permission that we never allowed ourselves to. But
mm,
when we hear it from someone, it's like, you know what? You are you are allowed to feel this way. What if it's
mhm,
okay to feel this way? Right? Just being able to hear that, it's like, oh yeah, I'm actually allowed to. And then it kind of breaks it down. It's
mm,
like I don't have to hold up a front anymore. I don't have to act a certain way.
mm,
And so if you can really find yourself someone who can hold you up high, because they can see your potential, they can help you with it. So I know
mm,
Celeste is probably a very good coach, and if there are also a lot of other people, if Celeste or myself is not who you're looking for, there is. If you actually put your mind into it and say, hey, I just want to look for someone who is the perfect coach for me, that person will come along and you will find them.
ex-
and if you're doing it on your own, if you do not have the ability to do it right, to find a coach right now, just oh, this is one thing that I do is I put it in my journal to say, hey, every night I give myself just a short 5 minutes to write down 5 things. that I've accomplished that day and I celebrate myself for. So think of all the things that you can celebrate yourself for, even if it is washing the dishes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Even if
That's
it is, even if it is to, I just sit here and I just allow myself to have a breather, right?
mm,
And being able to find all these things to celebrate yourself is so important. We are very much into like, oh, I like setting goals, and we get to that goal and now we only like yay for 1 second, and then we'll
yeah,
be like,
yeah,
what's next, right? So
yeah,
so
yeah.
celebrate yourself, find all the reasons. Like for me, this, as I said, this week is my son's birthday, but for me, I'm like, I celebrate myself for having like carried him in my in my belly like 5 years ago, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And pushing
Find
him
a
out.
Exactly.
And
Like
yeah.
find a reason to celebrate you. Like find it. It's going to be hard in the beginning, but as you keep going, then it'll get easier and easier.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be more natural, and it becomes a habit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great, great. I love it. Yeah. So, yeah, celebrate is actually also something I wrote down. So, yeah, thank you for that. Really important. Celebrate yourself, knowing yourself, and knowing your thoughts.
Hmm. Yeah. Be aware,
Yeah,
love yourself, and show
exactly.
up.
Yeah. Love yourself, find a love buddy, write
And
down
find a
5 things
lovely.
to
Yeah.
celebrate every day. Yes,
Yeah.
amazing. Great. Well, do you have anything else you wanna share here at the end?
One thing, the last thing I would like to tell you is that you are not your story. You are not your thoughts. You're more than that. You are actually way more than that. And find out what is holding you back. And instead of making it as an obstacle that defines who you are, find a way to overcome it, because that's your story. That's your real story, is to overcome this obstacle so that you can be the magical unicorn that you're meant to
Oh yeah, yeah,
be.
love it. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your wisdom and your knowledge with us. And thank you at home for listening. And we will see you again in another
Thank you,
period.
Celeste. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Bye
Bye.
bye.